Coming to you from the UltraStaff Studios in Chicago, welcome to the Staffing Buzz Network with your host, Bob Petke. Hello again, Staffing Buzz listeners. I am your host of the Staffing Buzz Network. I am Bob Petke. Also here at Automated Business Designs, you can see we have a product, a service, an ATS CRM solution called UltraStaff Edge. It's a full front office and back office solution. And I encourage you to find out more about it, you staffing people, you. And today, we're fortunate because we're going to be really talking about the Midwest Staffing Conference, which is going to be held April 22nd and 23rd. It's going to be in Oak Brook, Illinois at the Drury Lane Theater. You can register today and anytime between now and then, but get yourself registered. The website is isssaworks.com. That's www.isssaworks.com. And let me ask you guys a question and kind of get into something here. What if 2 days could completely reset how you think about staffing? New ideas, new strategies, new energy for the work that you do every day. Well, the Midwest Staffing Conference is bringing together some of the sharpest minds and most respected leaders in the staffing industry, plus keynote speakers who will challenge, inspire, and push you to think bigger. From AI and marketing to sales strategy, leadership, economics, and business growth, every session is designed to deliver ideas that you will be able to take back to your desk and start using immediately. Big thinking, real conversations, practical takeaways. These are some of the things that you're going to encounter when you get yourself signed up for the Midwest Staffing Conference, 2 days, April 22nd and 23rd. And if you're ready to dream bigger, dare to challenge what's possible, and actually do something about it, this is where it happens. And so I mentioned that we're going to be having some really great keynote speakers at this conference, and we encourage you to get yourself there. And today we're fortunate to be able to bring one of them. Her name is Ziba Alizadeh. Alizadeh. Ziba Alizadeh. How did I do?
Hello, Bob. Why do I feel like you did that on purpose? Just because you want to mess with me sometimes.
It's funny you say that, and you know, it's Ziba and I go way back, former colleagues, and you know, we spent some time together over a couple of days, didn't we?
We sure did. Is that the story that you're going with, Bob?
I'm not telling any stories here. Okay. What about you?
Oh, I have great stories. I'm a beautiful storyteller. Okay. Well, before we get started, I just want to share this story. Hi, everyone. My name is Ziba Alizadeh, and Bob and I do go way back. So Bob, you know, is one of the reasons why I have been, in my own opinion, such a wonderful sales professional. So when I first started with one of my positions as a business development manager, I became a top producing BDM in the first year. So of course your ego is just, you know, up there, right? So I go to this amazing sales training, and Bob just so happens to be my sales trainer. They decide to video the session, which anyone who knows me, I don't like being videotaped. I don't like having my picture taken, but obviously I sign up because it's my job.
Hey, I gotta stop you. Look, what are we doing right now? We're on tape, we're recording, but
I'm sorry, this story has to go. Trust me, there's a good ending to it. Okay.
Right,
so we record the session. I put on my best show. When I say I give it my all, I mean, I pulled out every trick from the sales book, right? And Bob stops me almost halfway and says, you know what your problem is? You just never know when to shut up. And of course, I am offended. I am livid. I am feeling so many emotions I can't even talk about right now. So I'm very upset. But of course, you know, I go back to my room later that night and I watch the recording. And you know something? I wouldn't buy from me. I mean, it was embarrassing. I was talking to my counterpart and I said, "So what's your fee structure like? Is it like 25%? Is it like 22%? Is it like 20%?" I went down to 12% without allowing her to get a word in. So he was right. I wouldn't buy from me. But I share that story because Bob, you have a special place in my heart. You know that. You are a true friend and you have helped me become a better person, a better leader. And I use this story, believe it or not, in training other sales professionals because that is the one thing salespeople need to do a better job of, which is listen more and stop talking. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about that later, but I'm going to pause right there. I just wanted to share the story when Bob says we're longtime friends. That's how the friendship started. But go ahead, Bob.
Do I say thank you?
Yes,
Um,
you changed my life. You made me the professional that I am today, and you taught me to be a better salesperson. And you know what? If you hadn't been so direct with me, which is something I try to do with people in my life, I don't know that I would have gotten the lesson. So thank you.
that's a great story, and
Thank you.
it's a great story for you, and I guess maybe. But here's what it comes down to: at the end of the day, you're very talented, and you have figured out a way to do it. While I sit here and host the Staffing Buzz Network, you are out and about speaking across the country, giving a very powerful message to the staffing community. So I think that personally, I'm proud. Thank you for sharing that. I'm glad that you're no longer upset about it, but I think we're in a good space now, are we?
We'll see. Buy me a drink in Chicago. We'll talk.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about you, Ziba. You've got over 40 years. I'm sorry, 40. You're not even probably 40. She's not even
I'm
40 years old.
25 years
Because
old.
she's under
I'm.
the.
I just turned 25, Bob.
I thought you were the 40 under 40. Was that when you were under
I
40?
am under 40. I barely made the cut. I actually did turn 40 right after I won the recognition, which was amazing. This year I'm going to be 40. So,
So,
yes, but right around that age. But we can go with 25. It's more preferable.
so 20 years of experience in the staffing industry in leadership with a focus on contract to hire, direct hire solutions. You've managed large multi-million dollar territories and you've fostered long-term exclusive partnerships with 95% of your clients. And here's a unique thing about you. You've got this ability to navigate nuances in diverse markets, and you've been instrumental. And these are the things that are instrumental in your success. And we also know a little bit about Ziba. If you've seen her before, she's tied in with various associations, the Staffing Industry and Analysts, which is SIA, American Staffing Association. You're a committee member for several councils, and you're a featured speaker, and we're fortunate to have you at one of these. And like I mentioned, you did receive a prestigious recognition of 40 under 40, which is I think fantastic. And I think I would have had to do that in the last century if that would have been me. But you are definitely, and I commend you for it. I think people are recognizing you as an emerging leader, an innovator, and shaping the future of the industry. So glad to have you on today. So glad to know that you'll be at the Midwest Staffing Conference. And as we go through this, and I gave your bio, right? Let's talk a little bit about the many hats and the different hats that you've wore in your time in staffing.
Absolutely. So, I know this sounds like a joke, but it's really not. If staffing were a wardrobe, I probably would need a walk-in closet. Okay.
Okay, I like that.
So, to give everyone a little bit of a background, I relocated to the States when I was 14 years old. I did not speak any English. My father told me I had 3 months to learn English. So, I took, evening classes at a local college while I worked retail to learn the language. About a year or so in, I happened to meet someone, and my biggest dream was getting an office job. I had no idea what that meant. So, a few years into that, I met someone who hired me as a file clerk. And that happened to be my first recruiting job. So, when people say I've done everything in staffing, I've actually done everything in staffing. I was
Sure.
an executive assistant. From there, I moved to executive search, client relationships, business development, leadership, obviously, consulting, speaking. And, what's really interesting is that each role really taught me something that can never be replaced. The desk taught me empathy, understanding people, leadership taught me strategy, And sales definitely taught me that coffee is not optional. So that is something that is, always sticks by me. Now, through it all, though, I think it's been people, right? Finding them, developing them, people like yourself, right? Relationships that you build, and then trying to get better every day. So when you look at staffing as a whole, a lot of leaders that you come across are either sales oriented or operationally oriented. So I've been very lucky where I've been able to accrue experience in both sides of the business.
20 years in the industry. How has it changed?
Gosh, well, we no longer have to fax resumes. So now I did say I was 25. So technically I don't know what a fax machine is, but no, in all seriousness, I think the transformation has been enormous. 20 years ago, this industry ran pretty much on relationships, right? And that's all it was. Phone, dialing the phone, there was no technology. Today, AI, automation, data analytics has been embedded in our not just the client side of the business, but also the candidate side, right? And how we source, screen, engage with people. So we live in an industry and an economy now that where candidates have more power, they have more options than ever before. And the client is also more sophisticated and more demanding than what we've seen 20 years ago. Now, one thing that hasn't changed though is that when you lead with authenticity and when you tap into that human side of the business and the human connection, you win. So, what I genuinely believe is that technology can change the delivery, but it cannot change the relationship in our industry. So, I've seen a lot. I always say I've seen the good, the bad, the ugly. I could probably write a book with all the stories and all the things that I've been privy to.
It's a relationship job. It's a people job. Technology has changed significantly. I am right there with you.
Yes.
And with that in mind, and we're going to get into your talk here a little bit, but
Mhm.
how have you changed?
Well, first and foremost, I think I got a little older, but then I did stop at 25.
Okay.
No, I'm totally joking. I used to be a person that measured my own performance, right? We are in a very demanding industry. I've always said that you go through every single human emotion in one morning in staffing, and it's not for the faint of heart. So when I was younger in this industry, or less experienced rather, it was always about me. It was always my competitiveness. It was always how good was I and how much I was able to beat other people at the game, right? And the interesting part is I never made any money doing that. The moment I believe that there's enough for everyone and that we can do this together, I was able to increase my income potential and build some of the most amazing relationships. So over time, something really interesting happened to me where I started measuring my success by the growth that I could create in not just myself, but in others, right? Because regardless of my years of experience in this industry, I'm an avid learner. You can't stop learning. I am continuously trying to get more certifications, learn more, even from people that are newer to our industry. But I think that it's important to remember that because, one of the biggest and best lessons I learned from a mentor was that two things. One, your team will only run as fast as you do as a leader. And the second thing was, it's not about what you get out of it, it's about paying it forward. Now, I've also learned that, of course, the most powerful thing that a leader or a sales professional or recruiting person can do, or anyone in this industry, is just be honest about what we don't know, right? Half the time we are, I always say we're always worried about what other people think of us, which is a very normal human thing to do. But the moment you're able to be okay with that and be able to show your true, authentic self, that's when wonderful things happen. That's when people trust you. And that's when you see everything kind of fall into place and things work out for the best.
You've got a lot of life experience, a lot of business experience. For somebody so young, I think that that puts you in a position to be able to give one heck of a talk. And your message, it's titled "Brave, Not Perfect." Is that correct?
Yes.
Let me go a little bit more into that. Brave, not perfect, the recruiter's advantage in a challenging market. And just a little, a little clip I'll read from what the session is about. It says, "Staffing today is messy. It's fast. It's full of pressure and chasing perfection can slow you down. In staffing, success starts when you dream big, dare to take action, and do the work that moves the needle. So this session, it's going to allow recruiters to do just that. Brave, not perfect. It's about showing up and having real conversations, making progress, even when everything isn't ideal. And AI, it's not going to take the job, right? It's a people job. We've talked about that. And you're going to be able to be positioned to talk about that. People are going to learn about how they can have bravery, not perfection, drive results, strengthen relationships, and help teams thrive in a challenging market. What did I miss? What else are people going to get from this session?
Oh gosh, that was an amazing explanation. So thank you for that, Bob. Look, first and foremost, brave, not perfect. It's not a new methodology. Everyone has heard that. There are books written about it. This is a mindset that changed my life. When I first started speaking several years ago, the first podcast I did, I was so scared. My hands were shaking. I could barely look at the camera. And the gentleman I was doing the podcast with, he literally said, "Hey, I just need you to be brave, not perfect." Right. And that really stood. Now, we are an industry where, look, anyone who knows me, they know I call the truth, right? We don't invest in our recruiters. We invest in our salespeople. We invest in our leaders, but we do not invest in our recruiting and operational professionals. So through this talk, I'm aiming to change that in our industry. So there are three things, and I think you touched on them, right? None of them require you to have it figured out. So if you're new or if you're an experienced recruiter, it really doesn't matter. The first thing is you kind of understand the framework, right? You dream the framework, you talk about what it is that you want to do. What are you trying to get out of your targets? And let's also stop telling each other that it's a tough economy and that it's hard to find good candidates, because that has been the experience, at least for me, the last 10 years, right? So certain things are just kind of the conditions of our lives. So now, what do we do about it, right? Which is where the dare comes in. So we're going to get into techniques. I share techniques that will allow the audience to start having tough conversations with not just candidates, but also clients without flinching. I do talk about how to navigate the uncertainty with confidence, right? Instead of always being worried about data and economy. And then lastly is providing real practices and strategies that the audience can implement to really move faster than the competition. And also one more thing that I think they're going to walk away with, that the confidence that AI is not coming for our jobs. I'm going to show you exactly why the human in the room always wins every single time. Bravery, not perfection, is the greatest competitive advantage that we have. AI is here to help us, not take over what we do for a living.
A couple of really things that you drove home in that statement. Jennifer, who's our producer, she's heard me say this. She sits across from me. I often say, if it was easy, anyone can do it. It's not. That's why it takes a unique person with thick skin, skill set, and you have to be brave. You have to be able to fight the good fight. It doesn't involve your fists, doesn't involve putting someone in a headlock, but you have to come in, and every day's a battle. And I can see that that's where your message really is kind of taking the audience. And you really did a good job of explaining that. But I'm going to pose this question to you. People come to your session, and they're one way, and I'm always a believer of leaving them better than you found them.
Absolutely.
What are going to be some takeaways that they can take back? Go ahead.
Great question. Look, I think as far as a couple of things, this is not going to be a traditional playbook, a traditional PDF and a PowerPoint where you just, sit there. We've all been there. Bob, you've been at a conference and you sit through a session and you're just thinking the whole time, why am I here? And why, what am I going to, like, there's no reason for me to be here, right? So I think just through this session, and, I have a couple of sessions, so I'm very excited to do more than one, but, I think it's clarity on what the next step is. I think it's real results, being able to not just take your traditional training and sales, whether it's sales or recruiting, but things that you can actually use for your actual life, right? I'm going to challenge the way you think. Anyone in the audience, I am going to probably piss some people off before they love me, but they will love me before the end of the session, I promise. And hopefully, I'll be able to laugh, right, with a lot of them, because let's face it, like you said, it's not for the faint of heart, right? It takes a certain type of person to fight the good fight, right? So I'm hoping that that will be what they walk away with, right? Not just the content, but really the conversation that's going to take place.
Sometimes you have to challenge people.
Yes.
Ziba, Alizadeh, 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 Alizadeh. Look
That
at people
was
that are under now.
perfect.
I knew it all along.
I
But
know.
sometimes you have to challenge people, and maybe kind of get the hair on the back of the neck to stand up and be willing to face that challenge and be better for it.
Yes.
I think you're in a good space. I know that the Midwest Staffing Conference folks are excited to have you there, an expert in the staffing industry. I got another question for you.
Sure.
Because you've been doing this since you were 4, what if you had a crystal ball? What do you think staffing looks like a year from now?
Yeah, that's a great question. And look, my crystal ball has been wrong at times. Okay. So take this with the appropriate humility here. But I think that this is going to be a year of separation. And what I mean by that is it's going to be a separation between firms that can adapt, pivot, the ones that invest in the right technology, the ones that invest in their people and specialization, right? And then everyone else who wants to sit there and not do those things, right? I think that what is going to happen in the next few years is our entire world, as it pertains to the staffing side, is going to shift with AI, right? It's going to continue to reshape our sourcing, our screening. But I think that that part about being the human advisor, the strategic partner, the trusted consultant, right? Being a human, that's coming back, right? It's becoming more valuable. It never went away. I think that that's the difference between winners in our industry versus not, but it just never went away. So it's going to become more valuable. It's as the noise gets louder, I think as you tap into being adaptable and being willing to keep an open mind, right? Because we don't all know everything. And I think that's why I genuinely applaud the conference for the dream, dare, do, right? Dream what you want, right? Dare to do it and do it differently. And that is going to not just change your life, but potentially change humanity, right? In the process. I think staffing in particular is going to remain high demand and high leading with not just insight, but value, right? And it's not about price. I think we all think that it's about the lowest price, the lowest markup, or the rather speed too, right? I think speed is very important, but I do think that the time of traditional staffing and the transactional staffing is over and relationships are back because they never really left. So now we need to be mindful of that and tap into that even more so than before.
Yeah, we're on the same page, kid. What can I say? As I kind of lighten it up here a little bit. Yeah,
I learned from the best, right?
Oh, that's what she said. So, Ziba, I got one last question for you. You've been to some of these conferences before. I don't think you've been to the Midwest Staffing Conference yet. So you're in for a treat. But understanding the lay of the land, we're expecting probably over 300 people collectively to be there. It's over 2 days. There's going to be an exhibit hall. You're going to be one of many speakers, and it sounds like, maybe some breakout session as well.
Yes.
There's some people that are watching this and they're thinking, should I go? Should I not? What do you think? Why do people want to make sure they don't miss out on this conference?
Yeah, look, I think that, if you want to succeed, you have to invest in yourself. That is the one thing. So despite my 20 plus years of staffing experience, the first conference I ever went to, and I'm embarrassed to say, was in 2023, because I was never given the option to do it. And you know what? Shame on me for not doing it on my own. So whether it's through your own organization or you're doing it yourself, investing in yourself, taking the time to meet people that are like-minded, not just walking away with actionable steps that you can do, but honestly, Bob, the most important thing is the network that you build, because we are comprised of some of the best minds, as you stated earlier, in staffing. Look, I got to be honest with you. I don't know that I would ever get 40 under 40 if I hadn't gone to a conference. I dreamt it. I said I wanted it to happen. I'm a big believer. I think some of you heard me speak in January with my topic as far as the power of words, because it's very important to me. And it's a topic that I'm extremely passionate about. But what really was important to me and what it taught me the most was that there is extraordinary power in not just being clear, but having the courage to ask for support, because the people that I've met at these staffing conferences are the ones that helped me get to where I am. So if you're not sure, do yourself a favor. 2 days, amazing. I mean, Desmond Clark is coming. I'm sorry, I'm a huge Bears fan. I have to give a shout out, right? You have nothing to lose. All you're going to gain is networking, expertise, a lot of speakers, and hopefully if you attend my sessions, lots of fun times, right? We're going to joke around. We're going to laugh. I'm going to re-share this story with Bob if anyone missed it, probably over and over. I'm teasing. I will not do that. But I think it's probably one of the most important things. And I think it's amazing what they're doing with, the conference and bringing that to the community, to our industry.
Ziba, it's your story to tell, and I'm thankful that you had a chance to share some of it with us. And just one more reason why people want to make sure they attend the Midwest Staffing Conference, April 22nd, 23rd. Ziba Alizadeh,
Yes.
Thanks for being on the podcast with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Bob. I appreciate it, and I appreciate your friendship.
Likewise. Thank you. We've been doing this a little bit already, right? We've been talking about different reasons why to get there. And Ziba Alizadeh, one more reason why you want to make sure that you get there. Very talented person in the industry, 40 under 40. I've watched her from a distance and close grow into her role. She is growing leaps and bounds. And what's nice about it is she can share some of that with you. And her message is specific. It's relatable. It's applicable. So you want to make sure you don't miss it. Again, the Midwest Staffing Conference, Dare, Dream, Do. That's going to be in Oak Brook, April 22nd, 23rd. Get yourself on the website and enroll. www.isssaworks.com. isssaworks.com. I am Bob Petke. I'm your host of the Staffing Buzz Network. Also tied to this wonderful company, Automated Business Designs, with our front office, back office, ATS CRM solution, Ultra Staff Edge. Our team will be there. Looking forward to seeing you. Thanks, everybody, and thanks for watching the Buzz Network.